Hello, Chris Overstreet, the Redneck Gaijin here. A few months ago, I did a video about whether or not I should turn off some of my assists in F1 2021 to go faster. And when I decided to make a series of My Team Career Mode videos, I went ahead and turned traction control down and, on the advice of various viewers, went to manual transmission. And so far, I've got through a little bit more than half the races in the series, and I've had 5 DNFs. And I've also tried a couple of online races, and so far as I can tell, I'm slower. I'm staying slower, like more than a second per lap slower than I was with the assists on, and I'm not getting any better, or that at least that's how it feels to me right now. But feeling is not the same thing as reality. I mean, I feel like every single development and R&D in My Team Career Mode is failing, but when I go back and edit the videos, I found out it's closer to 50%. So we're going to make an empirical study today. We're going to take 2 tracks that I've driven recently but haven't set a hot lap time on in F1 2021. We're going to set a hot lap with the assists at my current settings, and then we're going to go back to automatic transmission and full traction control and see what I do there. We're going to begin with Monza, the Italian Grand Prix. And yes, it's kind of amazing that I haven't set a time here, but I haven't actually spent that much time doing hot laps in F1 2021. I did that for every race I drove in 2020, but I haven't taken the time here. We're going to do all our drives on the balanced default setting, even if it would be better for me to set a faster time with a different setup, because we want to do an apples-to-apples comparison of all of these laps. We're putting in 5 laps, and we'll take the fastest lap for the video. I've still got ABS on, by the way, full on. Last lap. Okay, a 1:23.24. Alright, that gave us a 1:23.242, which just barely puts us dead center of the runners. Now, we're not going to go straight on into the assist full with the automatic transmission and full traction control. Instead, we're going to take another track using these same assists. So I'm giving the assists the best possible chance to succeed on these 2 tracks without me getting mixed up in changing modes. The other track we're going to take on is going to be Zandvoort, the Netherlands Grand Prix. That, of course, being the one I drove just before the Italian Grand Prix. And again, it's going to be on the balanced default setup. Medium traction control, manual transmission, ABS on. And let's see what we do for 5 laps.
Okay, the time last lap was a 1 minute 14.1.
Last lap. Okay, that's done it. Alright. So, the best of my valid laps around the Netherlands comes out to 1:14.05, which puts me just barely above the bottom third. Now let's go ahead and go into settings. Traction control to full, and gearbox to automatic. And then back to Monza. We're going to take 5 laps on the new and see what happens. In just 1 lap, I've improved it by 0.2. Last lap. And as it turns out, my first lap was my best lap. And I only gained a little more than 0.2 over my lesser assist runs. But on the other hand, driving with the assist on, I felt more relaxed. Driving with manual transmission and having to worry about potentially spinning out the rear tires, is an intense strain on my concentration. I really feel overloaded when I'm doing that. So maybe there's something to going back onto the full, or at least the full for me, assists. But there's a reason why Formula One doesn't use Monza for their car testing. And the reason why they do use the circuit at Barcelona, Catalunya. And that's because the circuit in Spain is a more technical track. It demands more out of the car and out of the driver. Whereas Monza is the top speed track in the series. That's why we're doing both this and Zandvoort. Zandvoort is a much more technical track, much tighter corners, acceleration, deceleration, the whole 9 yards. And it's a better test of what we're doing as drivers. So let me just go ahead and note down the time I've set here. Okay, 1:23:021. And now we're going to go back to Zandvoort and run that one with the assist full on. And since I had a much worse lap time here compared to other drivers than I did at Monza, I really think that there's going to be a more dramatic difference here. In what direction, we'll see. So, 5 laps at Zandvoort, and we've bumped up our time, or reduced our time to 1:13:2, which is 0.8 faster than I was doing on manual transmission. So yeah, it does really suggest that where my concentration is a factor, and more importantly, when I have to get a start out of slow turns, I can put down the power faster when I've got full traction control on, and I can concentrate better on my lines when I'm not worrying about the gear shift. Especially since it seems like the automatic gear shift is better at choosing when and where to shift gears than I am. But that's not quite scientific yet, because I've been getting more and more practice at each of these tracks, which means I ought to be getting a little bit better at driving these tracks. So, what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the settings I had at the start of this video, manual transmission, partial traction control, and we're going to run 2 more laps at Italy, and then 2 more laps at Zandvoort, and we're going to see what happens. Okay, well, that first lap kind of showed it, didn't it? Oh, boy. We shaved off almost another half second going back to manual, so that obviously was not a good benchmark, but we still have to see what happens at the Netherlands. Okay. And that is why we don't necessarily go by just one run, huh? 1:12.82. That's shaving more than 4/10 off the automatics time. So what did we actually learn from this exercise? Well, the biggest thing that we learned is perception deceives. We human beings are not the most perceptive things imaginable, and we tend to take impressions off of things that don't necessarily line up with reality. In this case, the effect of me going back from manual to automatic transmission, it wasn't caused by me going back onto the assists. It was caused by me getting better at driving the track with practice and repetition. Because when we went back off the assists, I still got faster. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm driving better or worse with or without the assists. It means the sample size we're using here is too small. But since the difference is probably not that great, I'm going to go ahead and leave the assists where they are: manual transmission, partial traction control, at least for the rest of the first season run I'm doing on my team career mode. Yeah, it's more of a strain, it's more of a struggle, and it's not really that much more satisfying for me, but there are a few other advantages. Of course, remember, the game is there to be fun first and foremost, and if you need the assist to have fun, there's no shame in that, really. Or there shouldn't be, anyway. Because have fun first, and then, once you're having fun, try to get rid of the assists and see if you have more fun that way or not. Right now, I don't know if I'm having more fun either way, but I do know that as far as my time is concerned, at the very least, it's a wash. And my launches off the start, by the way, not shown in this video, are terrible either way. But the manual transmission does have one or two advantages. In this game, in automatic transmission, if you hold the brake, it automatically shifts you into reverse, so you cannot stand still, which is really annoying when you've spun out and you need to wait for the rest of the traffic to go by before you can rejoin safely. And you can't short shift on automatic transmission, which is kind of important in the wet. You'll notice that all the laps we just now were in the dry. Wet driving is totally different. But that's outside the course of this video. I hope you had fun watching. I hope you learned something. I hope you learned in particular not necessarily to trust your first impressions. Set up a test and test yourself and then double check it, because even the first run of the test might not show what's really happening. Thanks very much for watching. See you next time.